This is Earnest Mann, giving you insights and opinions you just won't find anywhere else. Many people believe in an idealized revolutionary Marxist vision of the future, where the oppressed proletariat rises up to overthrow its economic oppressors, take control of the means of production, and thereby establishes true economic equality for all. Which sounds very nice, except for one small detail. Throughout recorded human history, it has never happened. The proletariat has never done that, not even once. Now, I'm going to be talking about this stuff in a bit, more detail in a moment. But first, I'm thinking it might be a good idea to clarify a couple of notions of me that are quite erroneous. First, calling me a socialist. Now, you can call me a hell of a lot of things. It's basically like water running off a duck's ass. Doesn't bother me. But there are two things in this world you don't want to call me, and one of them is a socialist. Now, I don't have a problem with certain socialistic principles. I mean, hell, Jesus Christ was a perfect example of living by socialistic principles. But I definitely take issue with any person or government entity wanting to take any of my money without my personal consent and do with it whatever the hell they please, which often includes, but not limited to, supporting programs from the land of fruit and nuts, aka the People's Republic of California, with programs such as the Save America Snails Foundation, or your American Cockroach Freedom Coalition. Yeah, I've got a big problem with that. And second, and that one's a hell of a lot easier, calling me late for supper. Now, what I'm about to say here I know may ruffle some feathers, and that's really okay with me. Because you know me, I try to just tell it like it is, and I don't like tiptoeing around anyone's porcelain sensibilities. So if you've decided a long time ago to take the blue pill, enabling visions of you and Karl Marx leading countless workers with sickles and pitchforks marching on Washington, D.C. dance in your head, I totally understand. But if or when that delusion fades, or at least all the weed smoke clears, no worries. Ernest will be here to kindly reintroduce you, and hopefully even reintegrate you, back to reality. And speaking of getting back to reality, I need to do that right now. But just as a quick side note, just so you youngins know, Karl Marx has been the darling of the academic left for many decades, but was by definition what we would call today a high-functioning alcoholic, living an absolute parasitic lifestyle, and that reality is available for you to read should you have the courage to do so. Marx was a very bad human being and should not be idolized in any way whatsoever. This is also completely independent of the fact that most of his ideas, besides being completely disingenuous, were just really fucking stupid. Now back to the professionals, revolutions, and such. To the best of my current knowledge, all successful revolutions, and even the unsuccessful ones, are begun by an association of learned professionals, often those with PhDs and such. And that is for two primary reasons. First, they have the intelligence and knowledge to actually know how the hell to run a department that represents their field of knowledge or study. And second, they, unlike the previous holders of power in any given administration, are much more concerned with fairness than personal gain, because they clearly see and understand not only the destruction that the culture of corruption they're replacing would eventually destroy them as well, but they simply want what, by all justifiable motivations, should be theirs: a reasonable income return on their time and money invested. That was simply taken away from them, not due to a lack of proper credentials or a working field knowledge of their profession, but by a system which basically has abandoned them by refusing to fulfill its ethical obligation to them through positions of employment. So as a consequence, what's happened is the U.S. government, which now has basically become a subsidiary of multinational corporations, has basically told countless professionals in many fields to fuck off, keeping and or hiring only associated friends or family of the already established elite that runs through all tiers and levels of government employment, as well as corporate employment. So the positions that countless professionals should have had by all rights have been denied them, and in the simplest possible terms, that has seriously pissed them off. And I believe they have every right to be. This is essentially the same thing that happened during the onset of the French Revolution, and most of us know how that ended. And unfortunately, towards the end, they really did go above and beyond crazy, beheading people. But that discussion is for another time. In the case of America and its battle against the British Crown, I'm of the opinion that America was certainly justified in that revolution. However, the point that I'm trying to make here, and I'm speaking directly concerning the Founding Fathers, is despite whether they were right or wrong, they were, generally speaking, honorable and principled men who were, in fact, revolutionaries. And had it not been for the exceptional intelligence, talent, and sometimes just plain old good damn luck, the revolution would have failed. And more than likely, they would all have been hanged as rebels by the British Crown, with only a footnote in the history books, as history, as the old saying goes, is told by the victors. This is the reason why corrupt governments and other corrupt institutions are not toppled by mobs of emotional people carrying signs or wearing war paint while banging on drums with horns on their heads. They are won by actual revolutionaries and countless partisans. Actual revolutionaries are often doctors, lawyers, teachers, and so many other wonderful professionals of various professions who not only know how they're being screwed and why they're being screwed, but actually know the system well enough to know what to do to change it. And it goes without saying that the contributions of every non-professional partisan should never be forgotten. If you found this episode informative or entertaining, please consider subscribing. And if you just want to reach out to me with whatever's on your mind, you can do so by clicking on my contact link in the description below. Until next time, this is Ernest, and that's all I've got for today.